We welcome you to the Atlantic Collegiate Baseball League's Wolff Division Final here at Moody Park in Ewing, New Jersey. The two top Wolff Division teams during the regular season, the South Jersey Kings and the Trenton Generals, both trying to punch their ticket to the ACBL Championship on Saturday. Once again, we welcome you to Moody Park. Corey Miller back here with you. It is the South Jersey Kings, the number 1 seed here in the Wolff Division, hosting the Trenton Generals, the number 2 seed. They are just about set to get underway after both posting victories in their respective Wolff Division semifinal games last night. We'll get you a look at the Generals lineup. They are the visitors. Both of these teams play their home games at Moody Park, but the Kings the higher seed. Chris Reeder for the second straight night. The catcher leads things off, followed by Aiden McNally, the first baseman. Nick Ferry, the left fielder, bats third. Cleaning up is the shortstop, Nick Tomasetto. Jake DeClerico, the center fielder, hits fifth. Timmy Wright, the right fielder, bats sixth. Batting seventh is the designated hitter, Jeremy Cheeseman. The third baseman, Mike Doran, bats eighth. And batting ninth, the second baseman, Dom Patrizzi. That lineup will face Alex Keene, the 6'1", 165-pound right-hander rising sophomore at Millersville University from Exton, Pennsylvania. 5-0 on the summer, 7 games, 4 starts, 21 2/3 innings pitched, 16 hits, 6 earned runs, 7 walks, 20 strikeouts, a 2.49 ERA for Alex Keene. Finishing up his warm-up pitches as Chris Reeder steps into the box. He's ready, Keene's ready. Lombardi behind the plate is ready. And the first pitch from Alex Keene. Reeder shows bunt and pulls back for ball 1. Again, the leadoff hitter for the second straight night hit leadoff for the first time all season last night in the Generals' 4-1 victory against the Bergen Metros. Reeder was 1 for 3, a walk, a strikeout, and a run in that game. Swings at that pitch, flies it into shallow center. Right there is Mike Charavallo. And 2 pitches yield the first out of the game. You saw Charavallo in center for the Kings. He's joined by Jaros in left field, Hartman in right field. That's the 3-man outfield for the Kings. Along the infield for them, it's Quinn, Menino, Stikowski, Teneski third to first, and Andrew Lombardi does the catching for Alex Keene. Now facing the Generals' first baseman, Aiden McNally. The hot first baseman hitting second after a 1 for 3 performance last night. Had a first inning double along with a walk. Again, that Generals 4-1 victory versus the Metros. A 1 pitch to him. It's inside and it's 1-1. Some great pitching in that game. Top the Metros, followed by a Kings victory, 3-0 over the New Brunswick Matrix. And these teams facing each other yet again here in the biggest game of the season to this point. Hard hit to shortstop. Menino backs up, spins, throws to first in time to retire McNally. You're going to notice no Justin Sestowicki at shortstop, at least right now for the Kings. Was lifted for a pinch hitter last night and not in the starting 9. At shortstop, a place we've seen him basically all summer. So now here is Nick Ferry. Generals left fielder, left-handed hitter. Another hot bat for them, elevated from the 4th spot in the order to the 3rd spot. 1 for 4, an RBI, 2 RBI single in the victory last night. 2 quick outs for Keenan, quickly ahead on Ferry, 0-2. The Generals 21-10-1, 75 points during the regular year, just behind the 76 points the Kings posted. 0-2 with 2 away. Here comes the pitch from Keene. This is high and away. As we told you last night, the Kings swept the Generals in a doubleheader, the final game of the regular season, to take over as the top team in the Wolff Division and claim their spot as the 1 seed. 1-2 pitch now. Foul tip into the glove of Lombardi. He hangs on to retire Ferry and retire the side. Strong start for Alex Keene. Generals go quietly in the top of the first. After the first half of the inning, it is the Generals 0 and the Kings coming up to bat. Yeah. Eric Hartman steps into the box to begin the bottom half of the first inning. He'll be facing the right-hander Tristan Spalter. The Generals ace getting the start here tonight. His first pitch to the leadoff hitter Hartman on the outside corner for a called strike one. Hartman followed by Charvallo and then Jaros. Same three hitters atop the Kings order. That 0-1 pitch, fly ball down the left field line, heading into foul territory. On the run is Ferry, and he makes the catch a few steps away from the fence for out number one in the bottom half of the first.
Number 4, center fielder Mike Charvallo.
Good play by Ferry, ranging into foul territory. That brings up Charvallo. Solid night for him last night, 2 for 4. And also struck out in the 2 times he did not tally a hit. And facing a Generals pitcher in Tristan Spalter has been excellent all summer long. 1-1 the count on Charvallo. Spalter comes in with a 0.66 ERA that he posted during the regular season. Into the lineup and the 1-1. Missing outside with the fastball. It's 2-1. 3-1, 6 games, all starts for Spalter. 27 innings pitched, 17 hits, 7 walks, 25 strikeouts, just 2 earned runs. Again, a 0.66 ERA for the righty. Deals on 2-1, breaking pitch, taps slowly to short. Tomasetto gets the high up, throws high to first. McNelly, though, applying the tag to Charvallo. Tomasetto had to hurry the throw with Charvallo hustling down the first baseline. His throw pulled McNelly off of the first base bag, but was able to reach back across, tag Charvallo, save an error from Tomasetto, and now there are 2 down. Here is Ryan Jaros foul tipping that fastball into the glove of Reeder. Rest of the Generals defense, it's Ferry DeClerico right in the outfield left to right. Dorn, Tomasetto, Patrizzi, McNelly third to first, and Chris Reeder is the catching for Tristan Spalter. Called strike 2, and it's 0-2 on the outside corner. Jaros drove in a run with an RBI double, 1 for 3 in the win last night. 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3. A quick first inning for both pitchers. Both sides sit down in order, no runs and no hits. Through the first inning of play, you are watching the Wolff Division Championship here from Moody Park. Nick Tomasetto leads things off for the Generals in the top of the second. Facing Alex Keene back here, Wolff Division Championship here at Moody Park. Corey Miller back here with you. Scoreless half inning in the first for both teams. 1-2-3 they both went. Tomasetto grounds that first pitch to third. McNelly knocks it down, but won't have a throw to first. And air's going to be charged to Quinn, and that's how the Generals get their first base runner of the game.
Number 2, center fielder Jake DeClerico.
McNally, or Quinn that is, was terrific at third base in the Kings win last night over the Matrix. Again, 3-0. But now a runner on for Jake DeClerico. 0 for 1 last night. Appeared as a pinch runner for Timmy Wright about halfway through the game. Was originally in last night's starting lineup, but ultimately it was Carvelli who got the start in center field, and DeClerico gets hit by that pitch. Well, a 3-up, 3-down first inning for Alex Keene, but now an error and a hit by pitch, and the Generals have two base runners here.
Right fielder, Timmy Wright.
Brings up Timmy Wright. A productive performance for him last night, 2 for 3, including an RBI single, before he was lifted for the pinch runner DeClerico as Lombardi jogs out to the mound to talk things over with Keene. We mentioned in the first that no Sestawicki, as he was pinch hit for last night, and not in the starting nine tonight. We've learned that's because of a hand injury that Sestawicki was battling throughout the summer, but really aggravated yesterday during the victory, and he's out of commission for the rest of the playoffs. Wishing him a healthy return in the fall at Elon, as now Timmy Wright will jog down to talk things over with Mike Coryell. Any other team in this league might have a tough time filling the void left by Sestawicki, but the Kings have so many talented infielders that they can just put Menino in there. They're without Frontera, who has joined his college squad. But still, even without two of their better hitters, the Kings still in good shape. That potent lineup. 1-0 on Timmy Wright, 2 on, no one out here in the top of the second. Shows bunt, gets it down, right back to Keene. He's going to go to third. The throw there is in time to get Tomasetto. Good play by Keene. Bang, bang play at third base. Again, 2 field umpires for these playoffs instead of the typical 1. So same situation now for the Generals, just 1 out, and here's Jeremy Cheeseman. Cheeseman appeared as a pinch hitter last night, reached base once. Now into the starting 9 as the starting DH here in this Wolff Division final. He's been one of the Generals' better hitters this summer as a two-way player for them. Hit .357 in 13 games during the regular year. Splitting time between DH and second base. Popped a homer, 7 RBIs. And the count 2-0. Generals looking to strike first. Scored 4 runs last night. And now it is 3-0, the count on Jeremy Cheeseman. Mike Dorn waits on deck for the Generals. Didn't need to score a lot of runs last night as their pitching was great, but tougher task facing this Kings lineup. Any runs are going to be welcome. 3-0 to Cheeseman, taking all the way and taking a called strike 1. Could say what was a classic Generals victory last night. Boosted and propelled by strong pitching and some timely hitting as well. Something we've really seen from them, what's become their bread and butter down the stretch here in the regular season. 3-1 now on Cheeseman. Swinging and missing at that 3-1 offering. Full count now. DeClerico on at second, hit by a pitch. Right reaching on the fielder's choice after his bunt went back to Keene. Threw out the lead runner in Tomasetto with third. Only 1 out. 2 runners on. Cheeseman pops it up into shallow left field. Menino makes his way out onto the outfield grass. Makes the catch for out number 2. That brings up the third baseman, Mike Dorn.
Number 28, third baseman, Mike Doran.
Interested to see before the game who was going to get the start at third for the the Generals, that is. Denny Cyprian's typically been their top starter at the hot corner. Throw behind DeClerico at second. He dives back in safely. But Cyprian has been really cold in the regular season, late in the regular season, the second half for the Generals, while Dorn has actually been playing his best baseball in the second half of the regular season. First pitch to him, breaking ball in there for a called strike. And then Cyprian last time was 0 for 3 with a strikeout and a couple errors. So he's out of the starting lineup. You have Doran, who's been actually a pretty clutch hitter for the Generals. Comes in at 220 he hit during the regular year. 2 doubles, drove in 4 runs. Again, that slash line elevated a little bit thanks to hits the last handful of games of the regular season. 0-2 count on him, 2 away. Generals trying to not strand leadoff runners on first and second. As after an easy top of the first in which he retired the side in order, Keene's now had to face 5 Generals hitters here in the second. The pitch to Doran. Able to lay off that high fastball. It's 1-2. Patrizzi on deck rounds out the starting 9 for the Generals. Now a 1-2. Inside, and it got a piece of Doran. The second hit batsman of the inning, and now it loads the bases.
Number 1, second baseman, Dom Patrizzi.
So a big chance for the General second baseman, Dom Patrizzi. 2 for 4 with a run last night. That includes an infield single, but part of the trend of his hot hitting towards the end of the season, last few games. Big RBI situation for him here. Still surprising the way he hit this spring to see a guy who was a second-team All-Patriot League selection hit last in this order, but rough second half of the season, but a good finish carried over into last night's win. Big swing and a miss at the fastball. It's 1-1. Generals a visiting team despite playing their home games here at Moody Park. But looking for a second inning lead with the bases loaded and 2 away. The count's 1-1 on Patrizzi. Lays off, it's 2-1. So he said Keene has been exceptional this season for the Kings. In the regular year had the 3rd best team ERA of anyone on the team, 2.53. Second best of any starter behind Corey Williams, who was absolutely masterful for the Kings last night. Lineup got him 3 runs, but really that win was on the back of their ace and Corey Williams. 8 innings pitched last night, 14 strikeouts, no earned runs, 100 pitches even. And that is why the Kings are here tonight, because of how well Corey Williams pitched them to a victory last night. His Millersville teammate, 2-2 count to Patrizzi. It's in the dirt. Good block by Lombardi. But now it is 3-2, nowhere to put Patrizzi. And the runners will be off with the pitch. The biggest pitch of the game upcoming. Pressure-filled situation for Alex Keene. Wolff Division final. Bases loaded, 2 away here in the second. The full count pitch to Patrizzi. There go the runners. Grounded to short. Menino charges. Menino will throw to first in time. So Alex Keene loads the bases but gets out of the jam. Generals can't scratch across any runs through 1.5. We're still tied up at 0. Zane Teneski will lead things off for the Kings in the bottom half of the second in a tie game, which for a second there in the top half of the inning didn't look like it would remain the way it is now. Bases loaded situation, but Keene getting out of things. Wolff Division final here at Moody Park. Corey Miller here with you as Spalter's first pitch of the second inning is in the dirt for a ball. Worth noting that the winner of today's game advances to the ACBL Championship on Saturday up in Staten Island, and that winner will face the number 3 team in the Kaiser Division, the Atlantic Whitecaps, who not only won the Kaiser Division final, they won it in emphatic fashion. They beat the number 1 seed East Coast Sandhogs 24-9. Not something you usually see in a league championship game, scoring 24 runs. But again, that's who the winner of this game tonight will face. 2-1, the pitch to Teneski, wave and a miss. It's 2-2. The big Kings first baseman was 0 for 3 with an RBI and a walk last night. Again, anchoring the 4th spot in the order and going down on strikes here. Second straight strikeout for Tristan Spalter. Brings up Aiden Quinn, who popped a homer in the victory last night. 4 up and 4 down for the Kings against Spalter, and really the win last night for the Generals set up for today's game an ideal scenario. Comebacker right to Spalter, fields it cleanly and flips to McNelly for out number 2. But the ideal scenario of having your best pitcher, your ace, and not just your ace, but really one of the best pitchers in the league. Again, a .66 ERA. You have him throwing in the game today with an opportunity to send you to the championship game. The Kings used their ace last night. Again, Keene, a very good pitcher. No runs through 2 innings so far, but for the Generals, a dream scenario in the sense that they have their top guy pitching with the chance to send them to the championship. Just how they wanted things. Here is Menino, didn't play last night, rolls that one to third. Doran backs up, Fields fires across in time for out number 3. Business as usual so far for Tristan Spalter. 6 up and 6 down. Both of these teams looking for a run as we advance to inning number 3. Chris Reeder leads things off, top of the 3rd, Wolff Division final. Corey Miller here with you. Scoreless through 2 innings. Both of these pitchers posting 2 shutout innings. Much cleaner line for Spalter so far. Keene had a busy and long second inning as the first pitch he throws in the 3rd whizzes right past him, and Chris Reeder's on with a leadoff single. So in his second game as a leadoff man this season, Reeder's now 1 for 2. And the Generals have a leadoff base runner for the second straight inning. I was about to say, couldn't get anything going after the bases were loaded for them in the top of the second. Here's McNally taking inside. And he's been elevated to the second spot in the order for the Generals, facing the Kings' second-best starter during the regular year. That one is poked through the hole into right field for a base hit. Back-to-back singles begin the third for the Generals, and once again, leadoff runners on for them.
Number 14, left fielder, Nick Ferry.
Well, even though the Generals loaded the bases in the top of the second, those are actually the first two hits of the night for them, or any of these teams, either of these teams. And now a great chance for Nick Ferry, who's been an RBI machine as of late. Shows bunt right away, pulls back, and the breaking pitch is in there for a strike. Now, Mike Coryell probably knows that any runs he gets, Tristan Spalter might very well hold up. So even though you have a guy in Ferry who's been really swinging the bat well, he's having him bunt, and Ferry is clearly showing it. Once again, pulls back as the pitch is in the dirt, goes to the backstop, and both runners advance into scoring position. So unlikely that Ferry will show bunt here, and a great situation for him as the Generals look for an early lead. Corner infielders on the grass, Tedeschi and Quinn. Menino halfway short, 1-1 pitch to Ferry. Misses low, it's 2-1. The guy who went up in these situations the way he has been swinging the bat. A hot regular season finish has elevated him significantly in the order. 2-1 to him. Little bloop shot into center field. That's going to get down for a base hit. Reeder scores from third. McNally held there. And Ferry on at first with the single. Wild throw, getting it back in. Ferry, though, didn't get a good enough read to advance to second. Nonetheless, though, an RBI single, and the Generals grab a 1-0 lead here in the third. The closest player to that ball was actually Stokowski, the second baseman, and now Miles Taylor heads out to the mound for the Kings to talk things over. And they are getting a right-hander loose out in their bullpen. Ideal situation for the Generals with their ace on the mound. And that victory last night, so meaningful for them because they really wanted a second crack, or I should say another crack, at this Kings squad. A team that they swept the first time they faced, the first weekend of action in the regular season. Swept the Kings 4-0, first weekend of regular season action, easily. Kings really didn't put up a fight. But then the Kings, moving forward, won 21 of their last 23 games a little while after. And on the last day of the regular season, swept the Generals, who were still in first place at the time, to win the Wolff division and become the 1 seed in these playoffs. And that left a sour taste in the Generals' mouth. And that is why they were so excited. That's all they really wanted, another crack at this Kings team and get some revenge. After the mound visit, first and third, still no one out. Tomasetto swings at the first pitch. Shallow fly ball, right center field. Hartman eventually calling off Stokowski. Not going to be deep enough for McNally to tag and score. So a big first out for Keene, and the Generals don't add on. Stokowski, Charvel, and Hartman all converging. And Hartman eventually called everyone off. It is Cartafalsa, the right-hander, loosening in the Kings' bullpen. They didn't have to think about the bullpen really till the 8th or 9th inning last night, but already here in the third, they have an arm loosening. Generals looking for more. Now first and third for DeClerico, one away. There goes Ferry. Pitch is high. The throw down to second with McNally coming to the plate, and he will come across to score. Ferry thrown out at second, but what matters is that the Generals get another run, make it 2-0. The double steal working to perfection. Runners erased on the base pass here. 2 away, 1-0 on DeClerico. Kane trying to get out of the inning, having already allowed 2 runs. Grounded down the third base line, off of the glove of Quinn into left field. It's a fair ball. DeClerico rounds first. He's headed for 2. The throw by Jaros is not in time. Bang, bang play at second. Great throw by Jaros. Looked like Stikowski kind of swept the glove over top of DeClerico's helmet. Very close play. DeClerico ruled safe. It will be ruled as a hit, so a double for DeClerico, and the Generals extend the inning, keep it alive for Timmy Wright, who drove in a run last night. Here he pops the first pitch up that he sees. Stikowski is there to put a glove on it for out number 3. But not before the Generals strike for 2 and strike first here in the third. They give their ace a 2-run lead, trying to advance to the ACBL championship. With the Generals now up 2-0 here in the last of the third, Andrew Lombardi steps in to face Tristan Spalter. 7-8-9 for the Kings. Lombardi, Wood, Stikowski, as they look for their first base runner against the Generals' ace, who's now been given a 2-0 lead. See if that's all he needs. During the regular season, that's typically always going to hold up for a guy who was part of the league's best pitching staff. Generals had the lowest ERA in the entire league. That's both the Wolff and the Kaiser division. And their pitching really helped them last night. It's crazy that between the two squads playing here tonight, the Kings and the Generals, between the two of them, they only allowed 1 run. 2-1 now. Lombardi takes outside, 3-1. The all-star catcher for the Kings struggled in the second half of the season. Finished at just 196 the average. Big hack there. 9 hits and 46 at-bats, a homer, 6 RBIs. Again, a much better first half. Pinch hit for Sestowicki last night was 0 for 1. Full count pitch to him. Gets a piece of it. Second straight game that the Kings have hit 2 catchers. Wood on deck as the DH, DHing for the second straight game. Will wander out of the lineup, at least initially tonight, as they will do it again on 3-2. High and outside, Lombardi, the first base runner for the Kings tonight to lead off the bottom of the third. Well, the Generals' win last night over the Metros was not without a little bit of controversy. If you were tuning in, you might know what we were talking about. Liam O'Hearn was the guy who got the start on the mound as Wood faces Spalter and takes a called strike 1. O'Hearn lasted 3 innings. was solid and then gave way to Anthony St. John, who was absolutely brilliant, Spalter's Babson teammate. 0-1 coming here to Wood. 1-1 now. And St. John pitched the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and they were trying to have him finish the game in the 9th, and that's where things got really interesting. Wood behind in the count 1-2. The umpires got together to conference over things, and were talking things over, and eventually it was ruled that St. John had to come out of the game. We'll tell you why after this pitch. Wood cuts and misses. The strikeout there for Spalter, and the Generals' DH is set down on strikes, brings up Stikowski. But on the original lineup card, Generals manager Mike Coryell had penciled St. John in as the starting pitcher. The problem was that O'Hearn was actually the guy who got the start for the Generals and not St. John. So technically, because the lineup card had St. John as the starter, he shouldn't have been allowed to come in as a reliever. The problem was Stikowski waits on a 1-0 pitch here from Spalter, 1-1 now, was that the Metro's coaches noticed it but said they were fine with it, weren't going to protest anything, and the umpires never really noticed it just until they looked at the lineup cards in the 9th. And that's why St. John had to come out of the game then and not earlier, is that the umpires hadn't noticed that change on the lineup card versus what actually happened in reality. And again, the Metro's coaches never protested, so the game finished 4-1 Generals, and that was that. Grounded to the right side and into right field for a base hit. Stikowski, the first hit of the night for the Kings, who have 2 runners on with 1 away. Good weapon for them at the bottom of their order, and Mike Coryell will make his way out to the mound after 2 easy innings. Retired the first 6 hitters he faced. Spalter facing first and second here for the top of the Kings order, including last night's victory. The Kings come into the game today having won 22 of their last 24 games after beginning the year 1-8. And as we've talked about a lot, it's their offense that's really carried them throughout that entire 24-game stretch, and to a lesser degree their pitching the last few weeks. But they scored 8.3 runs per game over that last 24-game stretch. Just a remarkable number for just a potent lineup. First pitch to Hartman with 2 ons, a called strike 1. Even without some key pieces, the fact that they can replace them basically effortlessly and you'd never know the difference speaks to how many talented hitters they have. Hartman dances out of the way of that one. It's 1-1. But it's worth noting that the Generals were still very good down the stretch, 10-3 over the last 13 games. And they had to do that to fend off the Kings for most of the second half of the season. Rolled down the first base line, waiting for a signal. It looks like that's a fair ball as McNally's going to step on the first base bag. Both runners advance into scoring position, but now there are 2 away here in the bottom of the 3rd. That ball just managed to stay fair down the first base line for Eric Hartman, who was just named NYU Langhorne Health Player of the Week after a terrific end of the regular season. He's actually the Kings' hottest hitter coming into postseason play. But 2 waiting in scoring position for Mike Charvallo, and that's a situation the Kings are going to be happy with. The league MVP, leading the league in a plethora of categories, including hits, average, and RBIs. 1-1 the count on him. Pretty good speed with Stikowski at second, so a base hit could plate 2. Kings looking to tie this game up after the Generals struck for 2 in the top half of the 3rd. Spalter dealing on a 1-1 pitch, and it's a called strike 2. Trying to navigate this really talented Kings lineup, which few arms have really been able to do at all so far throughout the season this summer. 1-2, 2 away. Reaches out, pokes it into center field. playable for Patrizzi. Makes the catch for out number 3. So an RBI situation for the Kings goes by the board. They leave 2 in scoring position. After 3 innings here of the Wolff Division Final, it is 2-0 Generals. New pitcher in for the Kings here to begin the top of the 4th. As Eric Cartafalsa, 6 foot, 190-pound right-hander, rising senior at Rowan University, replaces Alex Keene, who lasted 3 innings through 40 pitches, 4 hits, 1 strikeout, 2 earned runs. And it is 2-0 Generals as we begin play here in the 4th. Cartafalsa will face 7, 8, 9 in the Generals order, starting with Jeremy Cheeseman, who takes a called strike 1. Not a great regular season for Cartafalsa. 3-1 in 5 games, 4 of which were starts, through 18 innings on the mound. His 0-1 pitch is on the outside corner for strike 2. Allowed 26 hits, 5 walks, 12 strikeouts, 11 earned runs, a 5.50 ERA for the righty, but a guy who can give you some length out of the bullpen. In a much different scenario here tonight for the Kings, as opposed to last night, as Cheeseman comes up empty on that hack, down on strikes to begin the 4th, where the Kings only had to use 2 pitchers, one of which through 8 innings. They're already on their 2nd arm here tonight, in what is also a different scenario for them as Doran steps up for his 2nd at bat, hit by a pitch in the 2nd. So that the Matrix, who the Kings beat last night, had a very good pitching staff this season and limited the Kings to 3 runs, which they only needed 1, and a shutout posted by Williams, but still we're accustomed to seeing the Kings score more runs. 1-0 to Doran's in there for a called strike 1. And yeah, they're facing Tristan Spalter, and it's going to be difficult to score any runs against them. Haven't had any through 3 innings. They've only got 1 hit. Doran takes called strike 2. But you certainly hope that this Kings lineup has not gotten cold at the wrong time. Again, 3 runs last night, but as we told you, over the last 24 games, they're averaging 8.3 per game. So used to accustomed to seeing this lineup play more runs, and you hope for them it hasn't gone cold. 1-2 to Dorn. Little line shot to shortstop. Diving snag by Menino. The throw to first is in time. No, they're going to say Teneski was off the bag. He dropped the ball, too. If he had held on to the ball, the throw was in time to get Dorn, but it popped out of his glove as Dorn was approaching the bag. That'll be scored as a base hit. And now a runner on for Patrizzi, who grounded to short his last time up. Still a great play by Menino to knock that ball down on the dive. Grounded foul down the third baseline. Again, it's Menino out there at short. We told you Sestawicki out for the remainder of the playoffs with a hand injury. Aggravated last night. We thought it was interesting how they pinch hit for him in that game with Lombardi, and now we know why. So a tough loss for the Kings. But again, lots of depth behind him. 0-1 on the ninth hitter in the order for the Generals, Patrizzi. Another chance for Menino at shortstop. He's going to go to first, and this time Teneski's able to hold on. Only play was to the first base bag as Dorn advances 90 feet to second, and two are away for now the top of the order.
Number 17, catcher Chris Reeder.
Reeder singled and scored a run in the top of the third. First of the game at that time. And put to the top of the order the past two games. Spot the Generals have been looking for some production from to put traffic on the bases, and Reeder's the perfect guy between hits, walks, hit by pitches. He's gotten on base more than anyone else in this Generals lineup throughout the regular season. Finding the count 0-1 against the righty Cartafalsa. Flies that one into left field. Jaros jogging back a few steps, has it in his sights, and will make the catch for out number 3. Solid first inning out of the bullpen for Cartafalsa. Nothing doing for the Generals, but they still lead by 2 over the Kings through 3.5 here at Moody Park. Kings looking for some runs against the Generals ace, Tristan Spalter. They have 3, 4, 5 due up, starting with Ryan Jaros. As we said, doubled in a run last night, struck out swinging in the first. He's a guy who, even as a leadoff hitter here, beginning the bottom of the fourth, can serve you well, knows how to get on base, and good runner as well. His spot, third in the order, really important for the Kings in the playoffs, especially with the guys in front of him getting on. 1-1, the count to him. Lines it into right field. Timmy Wright ranges over and makes the catch for out number 1. The Generals in a good spot now with their ace throwing well. A few base runners in the third, but he's looked pretty good. And they longed for this Generals-Kings rematch after the Kings beat this Trenton team 6-2 and 3-2. Teneski popping that pitch up. McNelly in foul territory tracks it down for out number 2. 2 quickly retired. Kings are being aggressive against Spalter, who came into the inning at just 38 pitches. And already is retired 2 fairly easily. Generals were still a little frustrated, especially Mike Coryell, about the fact that as the lower seed, they have to move into the first base dugout. A lot of times, the majority of the MLB teams, the home team is in the first base dugout, but typically the home team has been in the third base dugout. 0-2 pitch to Quinn's outside, but the Generals have basically made that their mainstay in that third base dugout. And Mike Coryell was not happy about having to move across home plate into the first base dugout. His dog Blue even confused the fact that the Generals were in a different dugout. Initially went in the third base dugout before the game got underway today. 1-2 to Quinn with 2 away. Spalter's pitch shot into right field on the ground, and the Kings have a 2-out base hit. A guy who had a round tripper last night in Aiden Quinn keeps the inning alive for Menino. Menino hit .357 during the regular season. 8 doubles, 1 triple, 12 RBIs, 12 walks, 9 Ks. Rising junior at Rowan University. He held his own with all the other Division I names in this Kings lineup. Playing really third base, but he can play shortstop too, and that's what he's having to do without Sestawicki out there. High fly ball into right field. Timmy Wright makes his way in and makes the catch for out number 3. So a 2-out single for the Kings, but nothing more, as they've yet to figure out Tristan Spalter, who's pitched his team out in front through 4 innings. It's 2-0 Generals. Generals still lead by 2, possibly looking for more here in the 5th as McNelly starts it off for them, facing Carter Folsa back out for his second inning of work after replacing Alex Keene. 2-3-4 for the Generals here in the top of the 5th. First pitch to McNally is slapped down the left field line, but heading out of play. Keene, the original starter for the Kings, threw well as part of that doubleheader sweep for the Kings over the Generals last Saturday. Pitched the first game, went 4 innings, allowed 2 earned runs. Now he went 3 innings tonight, allowed 2 earned runs. The main difference is that his offense is yet to back him up. But a tougher task against Spalter. That's a fair ball on the ground down the third baseline. McNally's trying to turn it into a double. The throw into second base is not in time. And for the second straight playoff game, Aiden McNally has a double.
Number 14, left fielder Nick Berry.
The Generals looking to make it an even more comfortable lead. And now here is Ferry, who had that RBI base hit in the third. 3 RBIs across the past 2 games right now. Yeah, not an ideal start for the Kings. Number 2 starter during the regular season already to their bullpen. We figured it might be Keene who would get the start tonight for South Jersey. Big swing and a miss from Nick Ferry. We knew all along that they were saying that Corey Williams was going to start last night in that first-round playoff game, but past that, we were not 100% sure of who might get the nod. Not as many options as his Generals team, and fewer, especially with Williams now out of the mix. The 0-1. A grounder to the first base bag, which will result in an out, but a productive one as McNally moves up to third base. So he's 90 feet away for Tomasetto now. Moved down from the third to the cleanup spot in the order. Last night he was 0 for 3 with a walk, a run, 2 strikeouts. And that was hitting third in the order. The Kings already down by 2, bring the entire infield in against Tomasetto. Shallow fly out to right his last time up. Takes the first pitch for ball 1. Generals looking for more here in the 5th, trying to give their ace even more run support. And it is 2-0 on Tomasetto. So the Kings have used their ace and now their second best statistical pitcher. The question becomes, if they can come back and win tonight, who would they use in Saturday's ACBL championship? A much more interesting question since their 2 arms are used up now. That one is grounded into left field for a base hit. McNally scores easily. It's an RBI single for Nick Tomasetto, and the Generals lead 3-0.
Number 2, center fielder Jake DeClerico.
Good piece of hitting for Tomasetto with the infield in, not trying to do a whole lot in the hitter's count. Got a good pitch to hit and drove in McNally, so here's DeClerico, who doubled his last time up. In terms of pitching options for the Kings, again, if they could come back, Anzoli's not an option. He's done for the summer. In terms of guys who have started, Tyler Babel would be the next best option. 2 total starts during the regular season, 4 relief outings, a 2.64 ERA. Hasn't started as many games for them as that one is lined past the outstretched glove of Menino into center field. And the hits keep on coming for the Generals, first and second for them now. Jake DeClerico 2 for 2 down. Joey Rappaport, another option for the Kings. Another guy who started a lot, who's still available. But they're worried about this game right now and hoping things don't get out of hand. And now here is Timmy Wright, who's 0 for 2. Especially with Spalter throwing for the Generals, it's important for the Kings to keep things as close as possible. Generals are welcoming the run production, though. Seems like the victory last night definitely gave them a lot of confidence. Playing with an edge against this Kings team, they feel like they have something to prove. And it's good to see that this offense is looking like its early self after an 11-0 start, in large part because of the offense. The Generals struggled with the bats, but have looked good as of late. And have already scored 3 runs through not even 5 innings. Timmy Wright, a great contact hitter, heading the count 2-1. 2 on, 1 away here in the top of the 5th. Already a run in, and now 2 strikes on Timmy Wright. Kings do have some action in their bullpen. Generals have not had to get a single arm up, and you got to imagine Spalter's going to be allowed to throw as many pitches as he can, assuming he doesn't get into trouble. We saw the Kings let Corey Williams throw 100 pitches last night. Again, because Spalter's not going to be able to pitch on Saturday for the Generals, so no point in limiting him here tonight. But they have to face the question, same as the Kings, as who they start Saturday's game if they can hold on here tonight. Full count pitch on the way here to right, but first, Cartafalsa looks Tomasetto back to second. The Generals know what they have to do to win. It's some timely hitting, which they've done tonight, and get enough hitting to back their pitching up. It's amounted to success late in the season. That pitch on the outside corner for a called strike 3. Big strikeout for Cartafalsa, 2 away here in the 5th.
Number 8, the DH, Jeremy Cheeseman.
So here's the DH Cheeseman as a mound visit now for the Kings. Just be a talk between Lombardi. Infielders staying at their respective positions. Again, and this is a situation where Cartafalsa could definitely finish this inning, having allowed just the 2 run, but it's an ideal situation for the Kings, considering they only had to use 2 arms last night. Generals used 3 very good arms. But this is where, if you're the Kings, you're glad you only had to use 2 arms, as now you have a lot of guys available tonight should you need them. And pretty much everyone on standby for both of these 2 teams, ready should their name be called. An RBI situation for Cheeseman, first and second, 2 away. Swinging and popping the first pitch foul. You wondered what this Generals lineup might look like after the victory last night. Pretty similar to last night's game. A few changes, like Cheeseman starting at DH and Doran at third base waiting on deck, but most of the same guys out there for the Generals. 0-1. Tomasetto started, then stopped at second, as it's now 0-2 on Cheeseman. But not a lot of changes for the Generals throughout the course of last night's game, so we're probably going to see a lineup, if they can advance to Saturday's game, of fairly similar names and in a fairly similar order. Some good players on the bench, too. 0-2 to Cheeseman. 2 away, 2 on. And he stays alive. And they have the talent to be successful, if they showed some good fundamental hitting so far in this game. Just maybe needed to be reminded of their talent, and that was what made their midseason struggles with the bats so surprising, is that they have a lot of really good hitters. Another 0-2. In there for a called strike 3. So after the Generals get 2 on, 2 big strikeouts by Cartafalsa, but the Generals plate another run. The double by McNally. He scores on the RBI single by Tomasetto, and they now lead by 3 after 4.5 here in the Wolff Division Championship. Tristan Spalter back to work here in the 5th inning.
The catcher.
Now with an extra run to work with, it's 3-0 Generals here in the Wolff Division Final. Corey Miller here with you with Andrew Lombardi taking one way outside. Lombardi represented the first base runner at the time for the Kings in the 3rd. His only other at bat, he walked. Kings have 2 hits tonight against Spalter. Generals ace knots the count up at 1 after that swinging strike. As we said, a different situation for the Generals than the Kings, 1-1. They didn't use their ace last night, as they say Lombardi did not go. And they didn't have to because they have the pitching advantage in terms of number of quality arms over the Kings. So they didn't have to use their ace last night. Used St. John, who had been one of their, I guess you could say, second best starters. He pitched in relief. 2-1 to Lombardi now. Fly ball, right center field. DeClerico on the run, and he tracks it down in the gap for a nice catch. Lots of speed in center for Jake DeClerico, ranging all the way across to make the play, and Lombardi set down. Wood, who struck out his first time up, digs into the box. The Generals using their ace tonight. And so, while it's a different situation in terms of not having used their ace last night, his pitch 51 from Spalter is grounded foul. They, too, like the Kings, have to think about, should they win tonight, who that starter for Saturday's game might be. Again, they kind of knew all along, as the Kings did with Williams starting last night, that Spalter was going to be the pitcher tonight, even though Mike Coryell was upset with me for mentioning that Spalter was going to start tonight. Dorn makes the play at 3rd. Will throw to first in time for out number 2. Trying to keep it a secret as long as possible that Spalter was the pitcher. Kind of a running joke, but he has thrown well here tonight. Almost through 5 innings now and has kept the shutout intact. It's been really impressive what he has been able to do throughout the season for the Generals, and has showed no difficulties with the regular season flipping to the postseason. He only allowed earned runs in 1 start, and that was on June 30th against the Matrix. Stakowski fly ball down the right field line, foul. He allowed 4 total runs, but only 2 were earned. That means that he technically had, in the 6 games he started, 5 shutouts. And just 2 earned runs in the 27 innings he pitched. It's truly mind-boggling. 0-2 to Stakowski. Line shot into left center field. That's going to get down for a base hit. Stakowski with the big turn at first, but will stay there. Good job by DeClerico to get it in quickly. But the Kings have a 2-out base runner now for the top of the order.
Number 3, right fielder, Eric Hartman.
Clerico was close to catching up to that one, but unlike the Lombardi fly ball, just couldn't get there. Now here he is, as we mentioned, the NYU Langhorne Health Player of the Week, Eric Hartman. Finished the regular season on a tear at .438. No hits for him last night. 0 for 3, a walk and a strikeout, and he is 0 for 2 at the top of the order tonight. Someone the Kings could really use to send the ball into the gap and give Stakowski a chance to possibly score from first. The 0-1. Hard grounder foul. At the very least, trying to elevate this pitch count from Spalter, as we told you, just surpassing 50 pitches here in this inning. Knocking him out of the game as soon as possible would be ideal, you got to think, for the Kings. There goes Stakowski as that one is flied into left field. It'll chase Ferry back a few steps, but playable as he makes the catch for out number 3. Tristan Spalter continues to deal on the mound. 5 shutout innings for the Generals right-hander. Has him in a good spot here. They lead by 3 through 5 innings at the Wolff Division Championship. Another new arm for the Kings takes over to begin the 6th. Replacing Eric Cartafalsa is Caleb Kempler, rising sophomore at Marist College, who appeared in 8 games for the Kings, all out of the bullpen. Very good summer form in the regular season. Facing Dorn, 8-9-1 in the General's order. Called strike one on the breaking pitch. 2-0 for Kempler, 13 in the third innings pitch, 6 hits, 10 walks, 16 strikeouts, 4 earned runs, 2 saves, a 2.70 ERA. A guy we've really seen for the Kings as Doran flies it into shallow left. Jaros coming in, dives, and did not make the catch. Mike Coryell signaling to the Kings dugout that, yeah, that ball did drop. Just out of the reach of the big left fielder, Jaros. And so the shallow fly by Dorn gets the Generals a leadoff runner. They've hit the ball well tonight. Base runners in every inning but the first. Patrizzi shows bunt and bunts it foul down the first baseline. But we've accustomed to seeing Kempler out of the back end of the Kings bullpen, typically when they have a lead. But in a do-or-die, win-or-go-home game here tonight, they need him to apply a tourniquet, keep the deficit at 3. Not a dire situation for them, but again, they're facing a guy in Spalter who's thrown 5 shutout innings, only thrown 60 pitches. That one slips past Lombardi as Patrizzi pulled back the bunt attempt, and now maybe a chance for Patrizzi to bunt Dorn over to third or swing away. Either way, Dorn's in scoring position with no one out. An ideal situation for the Generals right now, already up by 3. Facing the new arm, Patrizzi will swing away and swing and miss. It's 1-2. As we said last night, used to be that these divisional finals would be best out of 3 series, but this year just a 1 game. As Patrizzi waits on a 1-2 here from Kempler. Stays alive. So these 2 squads last year would have had to play best out of 3. First team to win 2 games advances to the championship, but now just 1 game each round. 1 game last night, 1 tonight, and then 1 game for the championship on Saturday. 1-2 to Patrizzi's in the dirt. Doran, the big lead at second base, gets back, count even at 2-2. Now a 2-2 to Dom Patrizzi, lined into right field. It's down for a base hit. Coryell will hold Doran at third as the throw comes in quickly from right field. Patrizzi has his first hit of the night. And it's runners on the corners now for the Generals with their leadoff man up, Chris Reeder.
Number 17, catcher Chris Reeder.
So Quinn takes a few steps in at third base. Tedeschi will hold Patrizzi on at first with the middle infielders halfway. Reeder's 1 for 3, a pair of flyouts and a base hit. And every run the Generals get with their ace on the mound and only at 60 pitches through 5 is just a step closer to the championship on Saturday. Because Spalter has been throwing really well tonight. Kings have gotten some base runners, but nothing more. An 0-1 to Reeder. He takes the inner part of the plate, and the pitch misses, so now it's 1-1. And a tough inning now for Kempler, his first out of the bullpen. Kings have some more arms out there. Not loosening right now, but could come in. Line drive, base hit into left field. Doran jogs home from third to make it 4-0 Generals.
Number 5, first baseman Aiden McNally.
And this is what we've seen from the Generals tonight. It's not a ton of power, just content to get a lot of base hits. Only one extra base hit for them was the double by DeClerico, but all the other hits from them have been base knocks to move from station to station. As they'll say, McNelly went around. Actually, correction, 2 doubles. McNelly is one of them, DeClerico is the other. McNelly scored on that double in the 5th. Now here in the 6th, it's 4-0. An 0-2 on the Generals' first baseman. A high fly ball drifting out to right field. Hartman settles under it. Patrizzi will just draw the throw at second base and stay put as Kempler has his first out of the 6th inning.
Number 14, left fielder.
Brings up Nick Ferry, who's 1 for 3 tonight. And if you're going to ask Mike Coryell before the game how many runs he would have liked to get for Spalter, you got to think that 4 is a pretty good number. Might have even settled for 3. But 4 runs really gives them a good chance with their ace on the mound, not having allowed a single run and in good shape with his pitch count right now. And Generals used 3 arms last night, including Anthony St. John and then Jesse Spector at the back end of their bullpen. But still not all that many considering how many they have in total. At this point, you're also trying to save arms for Saturday's game if you're both of these teams, but you got to get there first. 2 on, 0-1 on Ferry with 1 out. The breaking pitch didn't find the zone, and it is 1-1. As Ferry asked for time. Big swing, and it's 1-2. And if the Generals can advance the way their lineup is producing, 4 runs last night, they've already matched it tonight. Definitely in much better shape heading into the championship game tomorrow. And should they hang on, that breaking pitch just missing outside. That's been surprising that of the lineup battle, it's been theirs topping the Kings, but they also have a really good pitcher throwing. 2-2 pitch, another fly ball. This time into left field. Jaros has to come a long way in, but he's there for out number 2. So good job by Kempler. After 3 straight singles, producing 2 straight flyouts. Kaponis is the man loosening in the Kings bullpen. He would be the 4th arm they've used tonight, the lefty, big lefty. Oh, 1 now on Tomasetto, who had an RBI single his last at-bat, behind in the count 0-2. And the Kings, when they come to bat, at some point have to start getting these runs back, even if it's just 1 at a time. They have to start bumping that pitch count from Spalter up. Marist guy in Kempler trying to get out of the inning, but it will continue on the wild pitch, allowing Patrizzi to get to 3rd, Reeder to 2nd. Now maybe Tomasetto could apply the knockout punch with a 2 RBI knock right here. 2nd wild pitch by Kempler of the inning. It's 1-2 on Tomasetto, and he fouls it off. And again, 2 RBI hit, a 6-0 lead for Tristan Spalter. That's going to be tough for the Kings, but strike away from getting out of it. 1-2 again, misses high. Kings have hardly ever trailed, again, winning 22 of their last 24 games. So good at taking the lead early, been great at hanging on to it and scoring more runs, but none tonight. Lazy fly ball into center. Charavallo has it in his sights, makes the catch to end the frame. Another run in for the Generals as the reliever Kempler on pitch number 25 gets out of trouble, but it gives up another run. Generals add on to their total 4-0 through 5.5. Their ace will make his way back out to the mound. It's now a 4-0 ball game here in the Wolff Division Final. Corey Miller back here with you. It's been all Generals so far. Kings lineup to this point has been shut down by the Generals ace Tristan Spalter at 60 pitches. Pitch number 61 to Charvalho. He's in there for a called strike one. 2-3-4 for the Kings. You got to think it's a perfect time now to get some of these runs back. That pitch gets a piece of Charvalho. Not a guy you want to put on base. Almost led the league in stolen bases. Had 20 in total. Painful way to get on, but Kings will take it. And now the question is, how aggressive do they want to be with the heart of their order up? You definitely don't want to run yourself into outs, but at the same time, you want a runner in scoring position with as few outs as possible. And with Jaros, then Tedeschi, then Quinn up, a base hit could play to run. We see if Charvalho has just been so aggressive every time he gets to first the regular season. Whether we see him off and running, there he goes. The pitch is in there for a strike. The throw down to second. He's out. Charvalho didn't even slide, and he's thrown out at second. Great throw by Reeder, as he is talking it over with the third base umpire, kind of saying that he was there in time. But, I mean, if he slides into second base right there, he's safe. I mean, because that throw was kind of chest high, 0-2 on Jaros. Slapped into right field, a base hit, and that makes it all the more unfortunate because that likely could have scored Charvalho. But a very good throw by Reeder. It was about chest high, so if Charvalho slides, Patrizzi has to apply the tag, move his glove lower, and Charvalho is going to be in there safely. That's why I always see coaches say to slide. And for the Kings, you're just hopeful that doesn't come back to bite them, because now with the Jaros base hit, even if Charvalho didn't score, you'd have 2 on, no one out for Tedeschi. Good speed on with Jaros. And Charvalho's contention was that he was safe anyways. It was a close play, but a slide would have made it more convincing of an argument. 1-1 now on the Kings cleanup man. So we mentioned good situation for Spalter in terms of pitch count right now at 60 pitches entering the inning. 1-1. Tedeschi, weak comebacker to the mound. Spalter to second for one. Back to first. It's a double play. Things go from bad to worse for the Kings. Charvalho thrown out at second. And even with another base runner, Tedeschi grounds into the double play. Spalter, despite allowing 2 base runners, only throws 5 pitches here in the 6th, preserving the shutout. It is 4-0 Generals through 6 innings here of the Wolff Division Final. We kick things off now in the 7th inning. Jake DeClerico, the leadoff hitter for the Generals. Caleb Kempler back out there for the Kings. DeClerico flies that first pitch into center where Charvalho backs up, makes the catch for out number 1. Well, the Kings' pitching hasn't been great, but it certainly kept them in the game. And it would be a closer game now, as it looks like we'll have a pinch hitter for the Generals. Replacing Timmy Wright is Robbie Carvelli.
Pitching for the Generals,
He started originally in center field last night for the Generals. 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts and a walk for the future Lehigh Mountain Hawk. But we talked about it to end the 6, 1-0, is that if Charvalho had decided to slide at second base instead of just stay standing, probably would have been called safe. Might have been safe anyways. But a slide would have made it more convincing and definitely would have been in there ahead of the tag, but decided to stay on his feet. 1-1 pitch, and it's 1-2. And then the base hit by Jaros into right field with Charvalho's speed likely could have scored him. That time, that pitch is in there for a called strike 3. Carvalho, the pinch hitter, sit down looking, too quickly retired here to begin the 7th. And it looks like we'll have another pinch hitter for the Generals as replacing Cheeseman is Greg Cristino.
Pinch hitting for the Generals, number 35, Greg Cristino.
Kind of the opposite situation. It's reversed from last night where Cristino got the start at DH and then Cheeseman pinch hit for him. And now through 6 innings, it's Cristino pinch hitting for Cheeseman. Righty on righty, and it's 0-1 on the Generals' new DH. 1-1 now. Four 0 Generals as Cristino's behind on that pitch. And a great pitching effort from their ace, Tristan Spalter. 65 pitches. You got to imagine he'll be back out there for the 7th and maybe more. And the fact that they may not have to even use another arm if he continues to throw the way he has been. 2 away here. 2-2 to Cristino. Again, he fights it off. So a few changes for the Generals. Carvelli probably more of a defensive-minded move, pinch hitting for right. As Carvelli struggled with the bat, but he'll remain in the game. You got to think as the right fielder. Good speed in the outfield as it's a good inning for Kempler. Sets the side down in order, including 2 strikeouts. Kings now trying to break out the bats, running out of outs. Bottom half of the 7th, upcoming of the Wolff Division Championship. It is 4-0 Trenton. Tristan Spalter back out there. 65 pitches through 6 innings, carrying the shutout into the 7th, facing Aiden Quinn. 1 for 2 tonight. Quinn had that big home run in last night's victory for the Kings. Again, the winner tonight will face the Atlantic Whitecaps in Saturday's ACBL Championship. Right now it's pointing towards the Generals, but they got to finish things out. 9 outs away here. Kings have yet to get a base runner to third. We don't want to talk about the Charvalho situation too much, but likely could have scored on that base hit by Jaros in the last inning. As that pitch is hit hard, fair down the first base line into right field. It'll slow up as it reaches the outfield. So Quinn will stay put at first as Carvelli replaces right out there. But what the Kings needed, a leadoff base runner. Second straight inning they've had that. And now here is Menino.
27, shortstop, Marco Menino.
And Quinn has been swinging a hot bat in the 2 playoff games. 2 hits tonight. Menino's 0 for 2. Shows bunt. Gets it down, a beauty down the third baseline. And what a bunt. It's going to stay fair. Oh, is it? No! Talk about an announcer jinx is right as I say it at the last moment. Out of thin air, that ball just seemingly rolls foul. I mean, that ball was about 2 feet from the third base bag. The Generals smartly were just letting it roll because they had no chance to throw anyone out. It was such a perfect bunt. And then it just hit a patch of dirt and all of a sudden rolled foul. It was staying completely straight down the third baseline, and at the last moment ended up going foul. Menino swinging away, flying it into right. Routine play for Carvelli. He makes the catch. A really tough break for the Kings because they probably would have had first and second with no one out. Menino tossing the bat. That ball had just stayed the course, but at the last moment, rolled foul. A crazy bounce, as now it's Lombardi, who is 0 for 1, has also walked. Big swing and a miss. And to finalize the Charvallo-Jaros thing, the counter argument is that things would play out differently had Charvallo been safe at second, so you never know if Jaros would have had the base hit anyways, but still a tough break for the Kings. If they had gotten that run, would have a chance here to make it even closer, but now it's still a 4-run game. Trying to at least knock Spalter out of the game, but he's probably got at least another inning in him. Right now it's looking similar to what Corey Williams did for the Kings last night. The 8 shutout innings, punched out 14. Quinn dives back safely. Grounded to shortstop. Tomasetto goes to second for 1. Back to first. Not in time. Lombardi hustling to reach on the fielder's choice, but now 2 away in the last of the 7th. Brings up Connor Wood. The DH is 0 for 2 tonight. 1 for 4 in the semifinal last night. Hit .267 during the regular year. Starting to get late now for the Kings as Spalter has had their number tonight. I mean, there hasn't been a team that he's struggled with. Just unfortunate the Generals couldn't throw him back out there for the championship on Saturday. But they have a lot of other good arms too. And it also made sense that they went with Spalter tonight because the Whitecaps scored over 20 runs to get to the championship game on Saturday, but the Kings have had the best offense in the league. Lineup that features just a ton of Division I guys, and I mean that Kings lineup, as we said, averaging nearly 8.5 runs per game over the past 24 games. You needed your best arm out on the mound to quiet the lineup, and that is exactly what Spalter has done. Not accustomed to seeing the Kings struggle offensively. It's now 3-1 on Wood, but that's been the case tonight. We were wondering what it would take for a team to slow them down and maybe beat them, and it turns out you need your ace firing on all cylinders to do it. Full count now on Wood, which means Quinn will have a head start with 2 away at first, which Reeder points out. Stakowski is the on-deck hitter. He's gone from 3-0 to 3-2. Wood looking to keep the inning alive as the Kings are in search of their first run. 3-2 pitch. To the right side and through for a base hit. Lombardi was running, but the ball was not hit far enough away from Carvelli to allow him to get to third. So a base hit by Wood extends the inning. for Stokowski, who is 2 for 2 tonight. Again, it's another situation where the bunt by Menino going foul really hurts the Kings because they likely would have scored another run here on the base hit by Wood. So if you factor that in, plus the Charvella caught stealing, it could be a 4-2 game. It's still 4-0. Spalter now at 80 pitches. And you wonder what is the limit for him. Action in the Generals bullpen. A righty just starting, or lefty that's just started loose. That's Chris Sasso. The Kings let Williams go to 100. Wonder if Spalter's at a similar cap. He's at 80 right now. 81 now as he misses outside to Stokowski. He's 2 for 2 tonight. A base hit could get the Kings on the board as it's 2-0 on him. Spalter finishes off the 7th here. Maybe could head back out there for the 8th. At this point in terms of pitch count, unless it really is a quick inning here, finish, and then a quick 8th inning. Unlikely we'd see him for a 9th inning. Conference on the mound. Hitters count for Stokowski with 2 on and 2 away. Again, he's 2 for 2. He's been seeing the ball well from Spalter. Stokowski was 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout in the semifinal last night, rising sophomore at Rowan, trying to get the Kings a little closer down to their final 7 outs. Have come close the past 2 innings, but trying to finally break through here against Spalter. The 2-0 pitch. It's 2-1 now. Big pitch on the outer part of the plate from Tristan Spalter. Stokowski waiting on the 2-1. Gets a piece of it, 2-2. And that is Sasso, the reliever in the Generals bullpen, the lefty. Great regular season for him. See how much longer Spalter can go. Trying to get out of a jam here in the 7th with his team leading 4-0. First and second, 2 away, 2-2 to Stokowski, who steps back into the box now. Here comes the pitch. And once again, Stokowski fouls it off. He'd love to keep the inning alive at the very least for the top of the order, and Eric Hartman, as we mentioned, who just won Player of the Week. He's 0 for 3 tonight, but any situation with runners on base for him would be big. He'd be the tying run if Stokowski can reach. Tough task against Spalter. Here's the pitch. Sinking liner into center field. Here comes DeClerico, lays out, and he makes the catch. Connor Stokowski tips his cap to the General center fielder. The Kings held off the board yet again. Threatened here in the 7th, but the defense by the General center fielder keeps them off the board. Spalter threw 7 shutout innings. General 6 outs away. As we move on to the top of the 8th, 4-0 Trenton in the Wolff Division Final. Another new arm for the Kings. Ryan Mullock takes over in the top of the 8th as Mike Doran leads things off for the Generals. Mullock closed out last night's victory through a clean inning in the 9th. Got the save for Corey Williams. A trusted arm for them at the back end of the bullpen despite having a 5.14 regular season ERA. Mullock, the rising sophomore at Lehigh. Right now they just need him to keep the game at 4 and nothing more, because the Kings are down to their final 6 outs. 0-2 pitch. And a game that's probably pretty frustrating for them right now because of how close they've gotten to getting multiple runs on the board. We'll go through it after this 1-2 pitch to Doran. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Good start for Mullock as Lombardi has to complete the play at first. After a few fumbles, he does. So first he had the Charvella caught stealing attempt where he should have slid into second, did not, was called out. Then Jaros had the base hit, which would have scored them had he not been thrown out at second. As Patrizzi, who had a single his last time up, he's 1 for 3, steps up to the plate. 1 Lehigh Mountain Hawk facing another. Mullock against Patrizzi. Then, this past inning, after a leadoff base hit by Aiden Quinn, you had Marco Menino lay down a perfect bunt down the third baseline, which had stayed fair about 80 to 90% of the way down the third baseline. Generals were just letting it roll. It seemed like it was going to be a perfectly executed bunt base hit for Menino. 1-1 now to Patrizzi. But at the very last moment, about 1.5 feet from the third base bag, that ball just hit an uneven patch of dirt or something. Took a bounce foul. Menino had to come back. He swung away and flew out. It would have set the Kings up with first and second and no one out, as Wood eventually singled. At least 1 run would have scored. But Wood's base hit continued the inning nonetheless. 3-1 to Patrizzi is in there for a called strike 2. And Sikowski was 2 for 2 off of Spalter, who hit a sinking liner into center field. It looked for sure like it was going to drop for a base hit. Full count pitch on the way to Dom Patrizzi. Line shot into left field. Jaros moving back. It's over his head and it'll roll to the wall. Patrizzi into second. He's there standing with a 1-out double. It's been great to see Dom Patrizzi refine his form at the plate. Second team All-Patriot League selection during the spring at Lehigh. Great start to the season, as we alluded to last night. But coming into the game last night, Patrizzi had just 2 hits in his last 17 games, but has 2 now tonight after 2 last night. And he's in scoring position for Chris Reeder. 2 for 4 tonight at the leadoff spot. Going to get back to the Kings' last inning. The sinking liner by Sikowski, and DeClerc, who has lots of speed, ranging all the way in, lays out and makes a great diving catch. Lombardi was going to score with 2 away from second. So the Kings feel like they could have at least 2, maybe even 3 runs right now. 0-1 pitch to Reeder. Into the hands, grounded to shortstop. Reeder stumbled out of the box, fell down, so it's an easy play for Menino. Looks like Reeder's okay. Again, fell down, trying to exit the batter's box. A slight limp to the first base dugout, but seems to be okay. Moving up to third is Patrizzi, 2 away for McNelly now, who is 2 for 4. First pitch from Mullock. It's outside. But the baseball gods have other ideas for the Kings. Again, some of it's bad luck, some of it's just playing some smarter baseball, but they've at least had good RBI situations against Tristan Spalter, but just haven't been able to score any against him. We'll likely see Spalter, you'd think, in the 8th inning. Again, you got to credit the Generals' bats, too. 12 hits for them tonight. And if they can carry this over into Saturday's game, they're in a good spot. The top of the order, and Reader McNally's done a great job. Combined, they're 4 for 9. Patrizzi's swinging the bat again. You got a lot of other good options, too. Hitters count for McNally 2-0, and now 2-1. And they're making it comfortable for Spalter. Those pitches with guys on, less stressful considering that he has a 4-run lead to work with. A 2-1 now. Grounded to shortstop. Menino can't make the play. A run will score for the Generals, and it's 5-0.
Number 14, left fielder, Nick Ferry.
A back-breaking error at shortstop for Menino. As now here is Nick Ferry, who's 1 for 4 tonight. That was one of those ground balls that was just taking its sweet old time, making its way out to Menino. Had a lot of time to think about things, including the throw to first. And right as it got to him, couldn't pick it up cleanly. Snap throw to first. Tedeschi couldn't hold on to the ball, though. And a tough break for the Kings, as now they trail by 5. They'll have the top of the order up in the 8th, but a 5-run deficit with 6 outs to play with is going to be tough. If there's a lineup to do it, it's theirs. But the way Spalter's been throwing and the other arms the Generals have available, this game very well could be out of reach. 2 away for Ferry, and it's now 0-2 on the Generals left fielder. Generals trying to win tonight and advance to Saturday's ACBL championship up at Staten Island University Hospital Community Park. Last one in 2021. Trying to top the Wolff Division's top seed here tonight. Ferry is able to stay alive. Again, Saturday's game will take place at 4 o'clock. Myself, Ben Chadwick, and Jack Kemmler will be up there on the call for the Long Island Sports Network. Pitch is inside as McNally took off. The throw down to second's way late. Menino wasn't even covering the bag. That pitch way inside, and it's 1-2 on Ferry. It is worth noting, as the Generals now lead by 5 over the Kings, that the Kings have at one point this season scored 7 runs in an inning. So they're capable of scoring runs in bunches. They're, again, the best lineup in the league, but they have their work cut out for them, as the best arm in the league this season has shut them down through 7 innings and could very likely see him out there for the 8th. From 0-2 to 2-2 on Ferry, and McNally's waiting in scoring position at second. Ferry had just stepped out, asked for time. Don't believe that pitch will count. So it's still 2-2 on Nick Ferry. The pitch from Ryan Mullock. Doesn't get the call. Clarifying where that pitch was, a little bit down. Kings do have action in their bullpen right now. From 0-2 to 3-2. 2 away, the pitch to Ferry. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Mullock able to strike out Ferry, limit the damage to a run. A double by Patrizzi, then he comes across to score on the air. Kings have their work cut out for them here. Down to their final 6 outs, they trail by 5 in the Wolff Division final. Generals closing in on a championship appearance. So Generals turn to the bullpen. Tristan Spalter's night is over. What a night it was, as he yields to Aaron Winzinger, another terrific arm for this Generals squad. Winzinger, the rising sophomore at Ryder, replaces Spalter, who went 7 innings, 88 pitches, 6 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, not a single earned run. He's pitched his team into a prime spot to win the Wolff Division Championship. Leadoff man Hartman 2-0 on Winzinger. And you have a guy who entered the game today with a 0.66 ERA, replaced by a guy with a 1.14 ERA. That's just how good the Generals pitching staff is. Winzinger in total 1-1, 7 games, 3 games started, 15 2/3 innings pitched, 13 hits, 6 walks, 9 runs, 2 of only were earned, 14 strikeouts, and as you mentioned, the ERA. 2-1 on Eric Hartman, who's 0 for 3 tonight, trying to get a rally going. Top of the order for the Kings, down by 5. Corey Miller here with you at Moody Park. Wolff Division final. The pitch in there for strike 2. We thought maybe Winzinger would start Saturday's game for the Generals should they win tonight. Now pitching here tonight, that seems unlikely, but a good option to close this game out. Easily could go the 2 innings. The 2-2 now to Hartman. Gets under it. Pops it up. Playable for Mike Dorn. Makes the catch and foul ground for the first out in the bottom of the 8th. Winzinger, if he limits the pitch counts, maybe we'll see him out of the bullpen again on Saturday's game. But now it seems like Chris Sasso, who is warming in the Generals bullpen, is a strong candidate to get the start on Saturday. As Charvallo, off of the hit by pitch in his last at-bat, skies it foul. And Sasso has a 1.97 ERA. So, again, not one of the Generals' top 3 pitchers somehow at 1.97. And you usually think, well, you usually want a top 3 guy to start a championship game. But Sasso with the 1.97, they're feeling really comfortable with him possibly starting Saturday's game now. 0-1 to Charvallo. 0-2. And that's just, the Generals have used St. John, they've used Spalter, now they've used Winzinger, and they still are in good shape pitching-wise. You know, Heron, who started for them yesterday, coming into that game was just a few points above having the ERA under 2. I mean, it's just crazy how good their pitching staff has been. So many good options. And they'll have even more available on Saturday. 0-2 to Charvallo. Swings and misses, strike 3. The league MVP down swinging, and Winzinger has taken care of 2 big bats to begin the bottom of the 8th. Brings up Jarris, who singled back in the 6th. I mean, if you want to know how legit the Generals pitching staff is, the fact that as now we have some Kings, it seems like, barking at the umpires, and someone's just been thrown out. The third base umpire made that ejection. One of the Kings coaches, Tyler Kamaic, is arguing with the third base umpire. I'm not sure if that's who was ejected, though. And Tyler Kamaic, third base coach for the Kings. It wasn't him who was ejected. It was one of the Kings players. I think it might have been Stakowski. They're still waiting to sort it out. I think it might have been Stakowski, who was sitting right in front of the Kings dugout. And no one's really sure who it is. The first time we've seen anyone ejected this season. And it. We're still waiting to resume play. Stakowski is still out there. The home plate umpire had told the Kings to stop chirping. He said he'd heard enough. And it was the third base umpire who made the ejection. Not sure what the Kings were contesting, as Charvallo had just been thrown out. And it looks like it was Chervallo. He's got his backpack on, gathers his belongings, and he's walking out of the dugout. He's having a hard time with the gate now, but it is Mike Chervallo, who had just struck out, thrown out as well. So now Winzinger throws to Jaros, who blasts that pitch into right field. Carvelli, though, tracking it, making the catch for out number 3. New pitcher for the Generals, same result. Winzinger, the new arm, gets the top of this Kings lineup in order. 1, 2, 3. And the Generals are 3 outs away from the championship. They come to the plate now in the top of the 9th. We'll be back after a quick break. A few changes for the Kings as we begin the top of the 9th with Tomasetto facing the new arm for South Jersey, Joey Rappaport. Rappaport, the right-hander, solid summer form, 3.68 ERA in 8 games, 3 starts, total of 22 innings pitched. He was a possibility to start Saturday's game for the Kings, but now things are looking bleak for them. The other defensive change comes in the outfield as Tomasetto had the count 1-0. Make it 2-0. As Chervallo, who was ejected in the bottom half of the 8th, replaced in the outfield by Whalewander, who moves from center to right, as Hartman's now in center field. And just the first time, as we said, we've seen a player, or anyone ejected for that matter, during a game. Chervallo clearly frustrated with the result right now. A grounder to short. Menino coming in. Charges, throws to first in time to get Tomasetto for out number 1 to begin the 9th. Maybe he was debating a pitch during that at-bat in which he had struck out, or had just been venting his frustration. The home plate umpire took off his mask, said, hey, that's enough. Didn't want any more chirping from Chervallo. As DeClerico pops up that first pitch he sees from Rappaport, Teneski makes the catch, and there's 2 away. Yeah, and it was the third base umpire who then ejected Charvallo, and Tyler Kimmick, one of the Kings coaches, was debating that, and I think his contention was, well, first of all, Charvallo wasn't talking to you. He was talking to the home plate umpire, so why did you need to step in and do that when the home plate umpire had just told Charvallo to stop and hadn't yet to throw him out? And that's part of the frustrating point, is that the umpire who wasn't really involved in that conversation ejected Charvallo. Carvelli fouls it away. And Charvallo's spot in the order is not due up for a while, as Teneski, the cleanup man, will hit to begin the bottom of the 9th for the Kings. But if they somehow can get a rally going and Charvallo's spot in the order comes up, yeah, you got a good bat and Whale Wander had a double last night. But that's going to be tough for the Kings if their MVP, his spot in the order would come up and he's not there to hit. Possibly an unfair ejection. Again, the third base umpire ejecting Charvallo. He's out of the game. Rappaport, 2 quick outs, though, for the Kings. But his squad's down to their final 3 outs, as Spalter and now Winzinger have teamed up to just shut down this Kings offense. Something you can hardly ever say we've hardly ever said this season. High chopper foul down the third baseline. Most runs the Generals have given up in run game this season is 9. And the Kings have scored 9 or more 11 times, but not tonight. Grounder up the middle for Carvelli. Stikowski, backhanded throw to first in time. Nice play. So a solid inning for Rappaport on the mound. But now it is do or die for the Kings. The Generals 3 outs away from advancing to the championship, closing in here at Moody Park. We'll be back for the finish here in the 9th. The Trenton Generals are 3 outs away from advancing to the ACBL championship up at Staten Island University Hospital Community Park against the Atlantic Whitecaps on Saturday. This Kings squad hoping their season doesn't come to an end. Do they have a big-time late inning rally in them? Called strike 1 on Teneski. Winzinger back out there, replaced Tristan Spalter after 7 shutout innings. A 3-up, 3-down, 8th for Winzinger. One of the many terrific arms for the Generals. Their pitching has been borderline unhittable. Between the 9 innings last night and 8 so far tonight, they've given up just 1 run. And we talked about it yesterday, but they say pitching wins championships, and the Generals, at least through the 2 playoff games, are proving that. Their pitching is just so dominant in these one-game playoffs. It's been the difference maker. 2-1 on Teneski. He lines it into left field. Right there is Nick Ferry. One down in the ninth. And here's Quinn, who's been their best hitter tonight. He's 2 for 3. First time he will have faced Winzinger.
Third baseman, Aiden Quinn.
Kings down to their final 2 outs. It'd be a tough end for a team that has just been a remarkable story in the league after a 1-8 start. We're at the bottom of the Wolff division, won 22 of their next 24 games. To get to the game here tonight, beating the odds of winning the Wolff division, came all the way back to dethrone this Generals team on the last day of the season. Swept the doubleheader. But now their backs are up against it here as it's 0-2 on Quinn. This General staff have given up a run, but not a single earned run through almost 9 innings now in the playoffs. Just incredible, and the fact that you then have another good arm throwing on Saturday. This team, you got to admire the way they fought back after a devastating finish to the regular season. As Quinn smokes it into right center field, Carvelli coming on, it falls in front of him. And it's a 3-hit night for Aiden Quinn. Now an opportunity for Menino.
Number 27, shortstop, Marco Menino.
But a devastating 2-game sweep by this Kings team over the Generals the last day of the season. The Generals had held the top spot in the Wolff division all throughout the regular season. Kings caught up, swept them on the last day on a walk-off air. The Kings won the division. A tough way to lose it for the Generals, but remained resilient, beat the Metros last night. Had been seeking a rematch against this Kings team so desperately, and then to come out and beat them tonight is fulfilling a goal for them, and they've really wanted it. Remained resilient throughout the whole season, even through a mid-season slump, which they really struggled after starting 11-0. Struggled 11-10 and won since, but have remained resilient thanks in large part to this pitching staff. Menino on 2-1, pops it out of play, foul. The timely hitting tonight, the bats looking really good. Generals haven't allowed an error, so they are in pretty good shape in all 3 facets of the game as they look to Saturday against this Atlantic Whitecap squad. Quinn leading off at first. 1 down, 2-2 to Menino. Again, he fights it off. Some tough breaks for the Kings in tonight's game. Menino had one of them, that great bunt in the 7th inning when it was a closer game that looked like it was going fair, then at the last moment just mystically rolled foul. Another 2-2 on the way from Winzinger. On the outside corner for a call. It's strike 3. Generals are 1 out away.
Number 6, catcher, Andrew Lombardi.
And how good have these arms for the Generals been? We just keep saying it, but it holds up. They've gone up against the best lineup in the entire league and are 1 out away from shutting them out. They've made them look human, the Generals pitching staff of the Kings, something really no other team can say. The first pitch to Lombardi is up and in. He's 0 for 2 tonight with a walk. No earned runs, as we just mentioned, throughout these 2 playoff games now. Lombardi rolls it foul. It'll be a tough end for this Kings squad after a remarkable story, as we said, but just running into unstoppable, unbeatable pitching. Winzinger on 1-1. And it's 1-2. Generals 1 strike away.
I'll come back and get this. Got it in the car. Be there 2
Okay, I didn't know if you were kidding with that because we, sometimes we get there.
1-2 on Lombardi. 2 outs. Bottom of the ninth. 5-0 Generals. 1 strike away. The pitch from Winzinger misses up and in. Generals looking for that championship appearance on Saturday. They'll do it again on 2-2 with 2 away. Here's the pitch from Winzinger. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Reeder to first. The Generals punch their ticket to the ACBL championship. Their pitching staff unhittable. Spalter and Winzinger don't give up a single run. 5-0 your final from Moody Park, and the Generals are Wolff Division champions.
They are heading to the ACBL championship game Saturday afternoon.
They tame this Kings lineup, which had been seemingly unstoppable all season long. A rare shutout from the South Jersey Kings, a tough end to a team that, as we said, a truly remarkable story. Won 22 of the last 24 games, now 22 of 25 after a 1-8 start. To go from worst to first, win the regular season title, and a tough loss tonight. A team that had great energy, great chemistry, and we're just a couple hits away from maybe making it to the championship, but this Generals team special here in the playoffs. Not a single earned run.
No errors for the Kings. No runs, 7 hits and 2 errors.
And again, the pitching gets them a Wolff Division championship. Once again, they will take on the Atlantic Whitecaps up in Staten Island for the ACBL championship on Saturday. Staten Island University Hospital Community Park, Saturday, 4 o'clock. Generals trying to win an ACBL championship. Again, it's a 5-0 final from Moody Park. As we sign off here, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in this past spring. For Jack Kemmler, Ben Chadwick, and I will be on the call one last time on Saturday for the Long Island Sports Network. But we want to thank you so much for tuning in throughout the summer here at Moody Park on the Jersey Baseball Nation, and for your support as we've covered the Kings and the Generals. Wouldn't have been possible without all of your support and the support of Mike Olshan, owner, general manager of both the Generals and the Kings. And once again, we just thank you for taking this ride with us this summer. Again, we'll have one last call. Tune in on Saturday. Long Island Sports Network will have the coverage of the ACBL Championship. It'll be the Atlantic Whitecaps and the Trenton Generals punching their ticket tonight. They'll be playing up in Staten Island on Saturday. Again, we want to thank you for your support this entire season. Until Saturday, this is Ned Rossi, Ben Chadwick, and Jack Kemmler saying for one final time, good night from Trenton.